Right now in the city of Toronto, there are 86 active listings where the seller is literally named Power, as in power of sale. And going back to January 1st of this year, 147 have already sold. 86 active and 147 sold. That gap alone tells you that something is actually moving here. My name is Arain. I'm a Toronto real estate broker and I've been doing this for 16 years, helping buyers and sellers all across the GTA. And just a quick ask before we even get into it. I'm trying to hit 10,000 subscribers on this channel, and I'm not that far off. So if you find this kind of information useful, please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button. Genuinely helps our channel to grow. And if you want to help putting your own plan together, or buying or selling, or have any questions, whatever stage you may be in, there's a link in the description below to book a discovery call with me directly. Okay, so anyway, power of sales. Everybody's talking about them right now, and everyone's asking me about them. So I figured, let's just pull some data. Let's look at what's actually for sale, what's actually sold, and I'll tell you honestly whether you should even be chasing these as a buyer. Okay, so quickly, what is even a power of sale? Basically in Canada, and this is a little bit different than the US, we don't really do foreclosures the same way as they do in the US. You miss your mortgage payment and you miss it again, the bank reaches out to you and gives you time to catch up. If you don't catch up, they take over the property and they sell to recover their loan. Whatever's left after the lawyers and the bank gets paid, that actually goes back to the original owner. So it's not actually quite as brutal as most people think, but still, I mean, it's still really a hard situation to be in for many people. And I'll say this too, and there's a whole layer of distressed sales you'll never see labeled as anything. Sellers who are, well, I don't know, 30 days from power of sale and their listing, well, just looks like a normal listing. Nobody's advertising, hey, I'm motivated, hey, I'm desperate, because the second the buyer knows that, your negotiating power is gone. So how did I pull this information? Well, I got access to our MLS system here in Toronto, and I basically ran two searches. The first one, the seller or landlord name contains the word power. The second one, the seller name contains the word bank. And look, I'm gonna be upfront with you. This isn't perfect by any means. The bank search is gonna pick up a little bit of noise. Credit unions, maybe corporation with a bank somewhere in its name. It has nothing to do with any of this. But on the flip side, there's private lenders, and there's smaller institutions that take properties back that wouldn't show up in either of these searches. So this isn't a complete picture, but I'd say it's roughly a good bulk of what's actually out there, but good enough for this video and good enough to actually talk about trends. So let's talk about what's actually for sale right now. Search number one, the seller's name is Power. There are 86 active listings in Toronto. Search number two, seller name is Bank. There are 88 active listings right now. That's a total of 174, roughly, once you account for a bit of overlap in this. Now let's actually take a look at these and what they're actually priced at, because I think that tells a real story right here, more than just what the headline number does. Price-wise, it's not what people expect. You've got stuff down here in the $300,000 to $400,000 range. That's always going to be a smaller condominium, probably in the downtown core or in one of the older towers. But when we scroll up over here, there's stuff pushing past $1 million, past even $5 million on those freehold homes. And those are absolutely not distressed. Looking at those prices at all. So again, power of sale does not mean cheap. It means the bank has picked up a number, and that number is usually just a market value, sometimes even a little bit more aggressive. All right, let's talk about where this is actually happening, because I think this is the more interesting part of the whole video. If you take a look up on the math on both searches, power as seller and bank as seller, active and sold, all four, you start seeing the same pattern repeat, and it's not random. The downtown core and the immediate east end, the heaviest cluster hands down. And look, this one's not complicated by any means. This is where most of the pre-construction condo boom happened over the past decade. A lot of these units were bought in the peak in 2021 and 2022, sometimes with minimal down payments, investor heavy, assignment deals stacked on investor deals. When the interest rates jumped and the rents didn't keep up with the carrying costs, that's exactly the kind of buyer who ends up missing on mortgage payments. High density of units, high density of leveraged buyers, and high density of power of sales. This is pretty straightforward math. As we move up to the Scarborough area, that genuinely more than I actually expected going on up here. Showing up consistently across every search. Part of this is just Scarborough's had a lot of newer freehold townhomes development, a lot of first-time buyers stretching just to get into the market at that time. Sometimes with family help and sometimes without. When you're already on the edge of what you qualify for, there's less room to absorb their interest rate increase or a job loss. North York, the central corridor, steady scatter, not the heaviest, but absolutely consistent. Similar story here, mix of condo and freehold, decent chunk of newer builds where people bought at the higher price points. Now, where they're not, the West End, Etobicoke, outward to the 401, noticeable quieter, and then of course Midtown, Rosedale, the Annex, Forest Hill, which is basically empty. Now here's the thing with these areas, generally older housing stock, longer tenured owners, and more equity built up over time. These are definitely not first-time home buyers who bought 2 years ago at the top with 5% down. A lot of these are people who bought 10, 15, 20 years ago and bought with significant equity to begin with. Even if they hit a rough patch financially, they've still got enough equity to sell on their own terms terms and walk away clean instead of ending in a bang forced sale. Lower leverage and more of a cushion. Structurally, it's more of a different buyer profile. So if you're specifically hunting for a power sale, downtown Toronto condos and Scarborough is where you're going to find the volume. That's just where the leverage was highest going in. If you're set in Midtown or the West End, you might be waiting a long time because these areas aren't producing the same conditions that led into this for the first place. Now here's the part that I actually think that matters the most, because active listings are just a snapshot. The sold data tells you what's actually been happening. Since January 1st of 2026, Power as seller, 147 sold. Bank as seller, 93 sold. So we can call it 240 sold Power of sale properties in Toronto since the start of this year. 8 months in total, that is. And I mean, that's a real number. And when you look at where those sales actually closed, it's the same pattern as the same active side, honestly. Downtown's carrying a bulk of it. Scarborough's got a real chunk of it too. North York is also in there. And as for the West End and the prime Midtown areas, well, it's still quiet. Consistent story, active and sold both. There is one thing I do want to flag here, because I think that's the most important number here in this whole video. Even roughly at 240 sold and 174 active, this is still representing less than 1% of the total new listings hitting the market every single month in the city. So when a report comes out and says power sales are up 40 to 80%, whatever the number may be, technically it's true, but we're talking about a small number getting somewhat bigger. It's not a flood by any means. Context here absolutely matters a lot. So should you actually buy one of these power of sale listings? Here's what I need you to understand, because there's a myth out there that power of sales automatically means cheap. It doesn't, and I want to be blunt with you on this one. Look at the profit margins of these 5 banks posted this year. These are not institutions that are sweating to hold on to any property by any means. They're absolutely desperate not to offload it undervalued. At minimum, they want to recoup what they gave. Realistically, they're going to be pushing for full market value if the property can get it. They're just not going to give it away, and you need to walk in with that expectation, not the other one. A couple of things you need to do before you even write an offer. Number one, these are almost always as in condition. If the appliances don't work, well, that's on you. If the HVAC has an issue, that's on you. You got to do your due diligence before you even write an offer, not after. Home inspection, well, that whole thing, because there's no negotiating repairs after the fact on these. Number two, the timeline. And this one trips up most people consistently. You're not writing an offer at noon and hoping to get it accepted by dinner time. That basically never happens with the bank on the other side. This one can go back and forth for several days, sometimes even longer, because there's the internal approval chain on their end that the normal seller just doesn't have. And number three, and here's the part that most people don't even think about, how the actual process works on the bank side. When a bank takes on a property, they just don't list it themselves. They hire a realtor to represent them. And they're selective and they're diligent about who that is. I've been on that side of it as well, representing a bank directly. And I can tell you, it's not a loose process. It's a full written proposal upfront on how you're going to market the unit, detailed monthly reporting, and the entire timeline it's listed. And if you need a price adjustment, it's a slower and more bureaucratic process on both the buy side and the listing side. And that's exactly why these deals take longer than a typical resale transaction. So my honest take, if the right property comes up, fits what you're looking for, and you got a realtor who's actually done these before and you understand the process, go for it. Just do not go in thinking you're going to get a steal. You might just be getting a fairly priced property, the longer road to get there. Thanks for spending a few minutes with me today. My name is Arain. We'll catch you at the next one.